What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, I want to talk to you guys about blessings, specifically about my collection of blessings on both my accounts. Now, obviously, some of you guys might be very new to the game, or you guys came into the game and the blessing system was already there. But if you guys didn't know, when the blessing system first came, it just created a massive power spike for all of the champions. Obviously, the huge stat bloat. And because this system is actually very catered towards spenders, similar to how primal shards and mythical champions are catered towards spenders, the power gap and the discrepancy between spenders and non-spenders got even wider. So with that being said, what can a player that doesn't spend in the game hope to expect from this system, and how we can best maximize our use of this limited resource? So I wanted to share with you guys some tips here. First, let's jump into my account. I'm on my main account here, and I want to show you guys what champion I've invested in with this system. So we're talking about the red ascended stars here. Obviously, for mythical champions, you can't, purchase any of their souls from the shop or anything like that. These red champion, blessings are strictly just luck, right? Luck from those soul stones. So generally speaking, I like to save up resources and then purchase the souls for whatever champions I want. What I mean by that is I save up, for example, I save up enough essences so that I can buy, or coins, sorry, to buy the essences that I want, and then target specific champions that I want to get in the Altar of Souls. This just creates the most guaranteed way that you're actually gonna get some value from it. Now, the other thing you could do is obviously spend the coins and get stones, and then gamble for souls for your champions. Now, obviously, inherently there's something wrong with this compared to the other system, is that one is a gamble, one is a guarantee. Now, the other thing is the gamble could be, really, really fortunate for you, and you get a really high blessing for a champion that you use, thereby you basically fast tracking your progress, because saving up these resources, these coins to buy these essences, it takes a long time. It takes a really long time. But gambling and then getting lucky for it, it could be instant, right? The other good thing about stones is that you can actually use these stones towards events, towards a champion, towards a soul, towards a big prize. Whereas these essences, you can't. So there is some value to having stones and gambling. So, the game obviously promotes your gambling as opposed to saving up your soul essences. So generally speaking, I like to save up my essences to try to build up champions that I want to use or that I'm using. So I'm on my main account here. So I'll show you guys which champions I fully invested in. This means that they're going all the way to 6 stars. And I've done so, basically from the beginning. So 1 star, 2 star, or whatever, very early on, or no star. But the big investment will be the 5 and 6 star. But these are the champions that I fully invested in. So one is my Rhodos, as fully 6-starred him. He was one of my first 6-star champions on my account. Probably got him within the first year, and he did a lot of work for me, right? He was one of my best DPS champions. I love this champion. I fully invested in him. But nowadays, I don't really use him that much. He's kind of fallen off the meta a little bit. Still a okay pick in some spots, but I just don't use him that much. So the other champion that I fully invested in here is Marius. Marius, 6-star. I fast tracked him right away. As soon as I got him, I started building him up right away towards the 6-star. If you guys follow my Marius soul progress, it took me about 10 months just to get this guy's 6-star blessing, from him to 6-star. Sorry, not just for a 6-star, but from him from 0 to 6 stars. 10 months for one champion when you're maxing out all the resources you can get in the game. A little bit too long, I would have to say. But Marius, definitely worthy of the 6-star here. After that, we do have Taras. Taras, I did max him out right away. He was relatively quickly, I would say within 6 months, I was able to get him from 0 all the way to 6. But the thing is, I don't really use him that much anymore. I use him in some PvE content, but not really PvP anymore, which was what he was initially used for. Now, the other thing here is, the other one is Sifi. Sifi, I started building her a long time ago, basically at the beginning, and then I kind of stopped her at 5 stars because she kind of fell out of the meta a little bit, and I started working on other champions, and I didn't want to commit her 6-star right away. Eventually, I did commit and finished off her 6-star. Now, Sifi, I don't really use that much anymore. She's mostly a PvP champion, but in PvP, she's kind of fallen off the meta a little bit, so she's kind of like a secondary champion for me right now. I'm not getting the full value from her 6 stars, unfortunately. My newest 6-star is Hilvi. Hilvi, if you guys see my recent showcase video on her, absolutely insane champion and one of the best support champions on my account. So for me, she was a no-brainer 6-star. I did have her at the 5-star. So I did do the event for the 5-star, and then I just bumped her up to 6-star right away, which was, pretty much no-brainer for my account. Now, these other champions, I basically just blessed because I was using them in some content. So, this one, I could have sold his 6-star Kurigar, but instead I blessed him so that I can use him in some content for Ogren Tribes. Harima is another champion that I built up from 0. And I do use her in some content, and then she does see some play in some PvE content as well. However, she's been kind of phased out in a lot of different areas. Arena, I was using her in Hydra at one point. She's kind of phased out, right? She's good for wave clearing and stuff like that. Obviously a good nuker for, Grim Forest, Centranos, whatever. But she doesn't get that much use anymore. So these 6-star champions so far, you guys can kind of tell, don't get that much use. Trunda, also another champion that I fast tracked to 6-star as soon as I got her. Because of, Trunda teams, right? How strong they were for Hydra and then how strong they were for Clash points, obviously. But you know what? I got Titus. My Titus team actually does more damage than my Trunda team with less gear requirements. So even Trunda for me, not necessary anymore. I don't really use her that much in that much content. Faction Wars, one stage. And then, I use her for one run for Hydra a week. So if you ask me, not the best use of 6-star, resources here. Moving on, we have Fabian. Fabian, I did push the 6-star right away. We did have the 5-star for him, so I did pick that up. So I went from 5 to 6. But yeah, big investment here. I think he's definitely paid off. He's one of the best champions on my account for sure. And I fully invested in him, and definitely not a champion that I regret at all. Now, that's it. That's it in terms of overall 6-stars on my account that I actually built up. So I have Fabian, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I built 8 champions from 0 to 6 or thereabouts, or 5 to 6 in some cases. But how many of these are actually worth the 6-star, or that I got a lot of value from, or I still get value from to this day? I would say only really Marius has stood the test of time, and Fabian and Marius. And so far, Hilvi, because Hilvi is going to be one of my main champions for Arena. You can argue that I don't get much value from Trunda because she's basically just doing one Hydra key a week. Harima basically just doing faction wars, random wave clears and stuff like that. Same thing with Taras, not really too much value here as well. Rotos, same kind of thing. So we got 3 really strong damage dealers that don't really contribute too much more outside of PvE anymore. Like, they don't get full-time PvP play. Marius, very, very strong. One of the best champions in all areas of the game. So definitely still very strong for my account. And then Sifi, almost no areas. I don't use her in Hydra. I don't use her in Chimera. I don't use her anywhere really on any kind of full-time basis outside of just one Faction Wars team. That's it. So Sifi, Trunda, and 8 champions up to 6 stars. Now I do have enough souls that I can sell off in my collection to make another 6 stars. So you guys can round up and say 9 6-star champions for this account. Let's jump over to my other account, and then we will see what kind of champions are on that collection that I maxed out. All right, so we're gonna hop over to the alt account, and we're gonna check out the collection here as well. So I'm gonna show you guys the 6-star champions on this account that I use, or I built to 6. Number 1, we got Leonardo, so that's 1. We got Hilvi as well. Fun fact is that I got the 6-star for Hilvi on both my accounts on the same day, literally on the same refresh. They showed up. It was actually kind of weird. But yeah, so Hilvi, 6 stars. Harima, 6 stars as well. Armand, 6 stars, so that's 4. This was a poll. This was a poll. This was a poll. Rotos on this account, I also built up to 6. This was a poll. I built up Teox. I built up Wukong to 6. And that's about it. That's all I've done. And I have enough in the bank to make one more 6-star. So I can sell off a bunch of souls in my collection to make one more 6-star. So if you want to do the countdown here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 in the collection. So on my main account, 9. On my alt account, 8. Basically full-time grinding the Iron Twins for materials, random events for materials and all that. And then of course Hydra, getting your mortal soul stones, and whatever soul stones you can get from whatever areas in the game. Both accounts I don't spend any money on, so this is what you can expect from a end game level. So we're gonna do the same thing on my alt account. Which champions do I actually still use fully after being 6 stars? So Teox is one of the big ones. I use him basically everywhere for PvE. He absolutely crushes. He's yeah, he's insane. He's insane. I love this guy. Wukong at 6 stars. I still use him pretty regularly for my arena stuff. And he just generally just very good for like wave content as well. So he's still very good. Rotos is another champion that's kind of faded off for my account a little bit on this account as well. Similar to my main account, I just don't use him as often. He's mainly an arena guy, but I don't really pick him as often on this account. Arman's, same kind of thing as Fabian. Yes, he's very worth it as a 6 star to get the additional speed. But Fabian would have been a better choice instead of Arman's for this account. Mainly because Fabian has aged a little bit better than Arman's. In terms of just overall usefulness in arena, but Arman's is still very good. Harima as a 6 star, again, very good champion, but I don't really use her that often in a lot of content on this account. She does get used, a little bit in some wave content. I think she is in one Hydra team for this account, I think, maybe, but maybe not. The other one is Hilvi. Like I said, fresh 6 star here. She will be getting used quite a bit. She's one of the best support champions on my account. And then Leonardo here, I do use him quite exclusively on this account quite a lot. And that's probably one of the reasons why Harima's kind of phased out a little bit, just because I do use Leonardo a little bit more as a defense-based damage dealer. So he does get some of the best gear on my account. My next 6 star on this account will be Marius. And then we know everything about Marius, and he's going to be very good. All right, so why is this relevant? Why am I showing you all these champions that I fully invested in on both my accounts? So there actually is a bit of a trend here that I see with both of these accounts, and it might be something that I would have to consider in the future when I want to, basically fully invest in a champion all the way to 6 star. Now I understand this is a huge resource commitment. The thing I wanted to point out is that basically champions that are kind of more like meta damage dealers, you actually don't find too much use for them more often than champions that are just generally really strong support champions. Like, for example, my main account, a lot of damage dealers are getting phased out. So we're going to hop over to the main account here. So you can kind of see here, like, for example, Rotos, Haras, Harima, Trunda, a lot of these 6 star champions, yes, they were good for a period of time, but then they eventually get phased out. They lost some of their usefulness, or lost, or maybe they got overshadowed by something else that was happening in the meta, or the meta just kind of moved away from them. And then they're just kind of sitting here as the 6 star. Whereas what I found was, like, with supports, they actually have more lasting value, perhaps, because it feels like damage dealers are easier to replace, or they get replaced a little bit more often. But a strong support champion that you basically can use in like any kind of team comp, you probably get the most value from. Obviously, Marius is a very safe DPS champion at this time because he handles both PvE and PvP content very well. So that's also something that you guys should really consider. A champion that is really good in both areas of the game, so PvE and PvP. So this kind of knocks Sifi a little bit here. Yes, she's very good in all areas of the game, but she's kind of not the best, or not top tier in all areas. She's kind of okay-ish, right? Okay-ish in all areas of the game. At least at this time, in the game, in terms of the overall meta. She's definitely fallen off because of the supersonic set, and because of the way power creep has happened. This ability is just not very good anymore on a 4-turn cooldown. It's still okay, but it's not very good anymore. And like I said, Wanda Submission really shuts this down, and supersonic really hurts this ability as well. So she's definitely fallen off, and coincidentally, or as a result of, Rotos also falls off a little bit. Although they're both good by themselves, together they're insanely good. And then Fabian, at least for now, is actually really strong. His kit is just overpoweringly strong. If you don't factor in that mythicals can kind of bypass the cooldown stuff, but his kit is extremely strong. So hopping back over to the alt account, kind of a similar story here, whereas I don't use my damage dealers that often anymore. So for example, Harima, Rotos, even Wukong actually doesn't see that much use. But Eox does see some use because of his insane PvE abilities here. We also get Hilvi, which is going to be really good as a support champion. It's going to be one of the best on my account. And then we have Armans here, who still sees regular play in Arena, but like I said, his effectiveness is a bit hampered because of Wand of Submission. But I guess the overall message that I wanted to show you guys is that investing in a very strong overall champions that you can handle all content in the game, PvE, PvP, and generally support champions are a little bit harder to replace than general damage dealers. Now, don't get me wrong, going from a 5-star to a 6-star damage deal like Teox, you get a huge damage boost, guys. So make sure you guys obviously invest in the right damage dealer for your account. You get a massive boost here. You get the extra speed. Obviously, if you're using him for PvE purposes, going to the 6-star Crushing Ren is a huge damage boost, huge ignore defense boost. So, investing in the correct damage dealer would go a long way as well. So I'm not saying neglect your damage dealers, but I'm saying, at least from my experience, I'm finding that supports have lasted a little bit better than the damage dealers on my accounts. Mainly because my accounts have less good supports, and I use those same supports basically in all content. But anyways, guys, you guys let me know in the comments below what you guys find with your blessing investments. Have you guys regretted any of the champions that you fully maxed out or invested in? It's a really, really tough, bad feeling. I talked to Plarium about, offering some kind of relief for people that invested in champions, and those champions are basically, no longer viable anymore, just because the resources to do it are so intensive and so hard to get, that making the wrong decision is really, really going to push back your account, really going to slow down your progression. So I really wanted to share my overall experience here with both my accounts. Like I said, hindsight is 2020, but hopefully we can learn from this and then move forward and make better decisions for what we want to invest in. Now, just another extra side exercise here, I guess. Which champions would I 6-star next? I did mention that I would be 6-starring Marius on my alt account, which makes the most sense for me. He's a slam dunk 6-star. And then after that, I would probably look towards another support champion like Suzanne. Suzanne is going to be a really, really long-term project. I got her from 1 to 2 already on my alt account. And then my Marius, I got him from 1 to 3. So I'm slowly working on these champions. It's going to take a long time. Like I said, I have enough resources to 6-star one champion right now. So I need to start accumulating more resources. So Suzanne is going to be on the back burner for at least half a year, I would say, before we start seeing some higher blessings on her. But she's probably going to be on deck after Marius for my alt account. Now for my main account, hop back over to my main account here. In terms of what to 6-star next, I'm not 100% sure. I passed on Leo on this account. I don't want another damage dealer. I think Leo is actually very good at 5-star already, so he doesn't necessarily need a 6-star. Because you want Lightning Cage on him, most likely, and 6-star Lightning Cage doesn't really benefit too much. Obviously, he gets the speed benefit and stats and stuff, but like the effect of the blessing is not that much worth, not really worth it, to be honest. So I'm just going to leave Leonara at 5-star. Lamassu, I passed on her 6-star just because I don't have too much use for her other than, maybe pushing her to like a main speed role, but I don't really want to invest in her beyond this at this point. I pulled her 5-star, so I didn't invest in her up to this point. Sulfuron, I did invest in Sulfuron up to 5 stars. I was thinking about going to 6-star on him because of the additional speed, and that would be really helpful. But I'm kind of on the fence about that for him right now. But he would be a candidate that I would consider heavily to go to 6-star just because of his general usefulness is so good. And he's very good in PvE content and obviously very good in Arena as well. The other champion that I would actually really consider maybe going to 5-star at least would be Donatello. I really like my Donatello here. I use him in a lot of content, not just in my Turtles team. I use him in a lot of different content. I love his reset ability. I love his turn meter boost, his cleanse, his passive. I love all of it. And I have him in a resistance build, so going up to 5-star is going to get a good chunk of resistance. So I would at least invest in him up to the 5-star point. And maybe I would go all the way to 6-star just for the additional speed, because he could be, a speed cleansing champion. So I do have a couple ideas here, but nothing concrete. But I don't have any kind of rush to 6-star my next champion or anything like that. At this point in time, I don't have anybody that's, really needing the 6-star blessing, I think. But it's not really a decision that I really want to rush anyway, so I'll take my time on it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Just a little bit of an overview on both my blessing collections on both my accounts. Hopefully I shared a little bit of insight to help you guys out with you guys those hard decisions, right? With choosing which champion to bless, since it's such a big investment. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any regrets or any surprises. That'll be interesting to hear it as well. Thanks so much for watching until the end. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.